It has to do with being in Dallas at 6 a.m. This is Dr. Daniel Knowles. Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. Your host, hailing from an altitude of 5,280 feet to wherever you are in the world. And we know you will be at Mile High altitude in September of 2023 from Mile High 11. Yes, these go to 11. Rise up to milehigh.com. We look forward to seeing you then. I am grateful to be here with Chris and Eric Martinez. They're business coaches and owners of Dynamic Fit Pros. They're good friends of mutual friends of Mile High, Zeus Cornell Cornish, who our Mile High audience is very familiar from him being on stage at Mile High. And they are really gifted in the area of impact, influence, and helping people with their social media brand and reaching further. They're #1 international best-selling authors, podcasters, and speakers. And so it's going to be a real treat to learn from them today. So thank you for joining us today, Chris and Eric.
Daniel, thank you so much for that great introduction. Really appreciate it. And shout out to Zeus for making the connection. Truly appreciate it.
Yes, he's very popular around Mile High territory. So tell us a little bit about you and how you found yourself in the health and wellness area.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to, when I go into podcasts, I always like to share our story, just because it is very impactful and it could just resonate with some of the people listening to it right now. So just to give some context, Chris and I have been in the health and fitness industry for about 14 years now, but I'll take you guys back when we were 17 years old. So we grew up in a picture perfect family. Our father was a correctional officer at San Quentin State Prison. So he instilled a lot of work ethic and he was very tough on us. So 3 nights before Christmas, back in 2003, we got a knock on the door from a California Highway Patrol officer at 2 a.m. So that's not a good sign at that hour. So I thought I was having a nightmare, and I woke up and I saw my mom screaming on her knees, and they had told her that my father had passed away, in a car accident. So right then and there, our whole life just like flipped a 360. And after that, my mom lost her mom due to cancer 3 months after that. So it was like a ton of bricks hit our family. Chris and I were just young. We were lost. We were very rebellious. We were very angry. So we got into a lot of trouble just because we had no guidance. We had no leader or role model to, show us. And most importantly, we didn't have God in our life at that time. So Chris and I went down just a really dark path. But what saved us was the gym, going to the gym, hitting the iron, alleviating our aggression and anger, because that was all we could do. So we got very fascinated with just body compositional changes, exercise, nutrition, everything. So we went on to get our certifications. We got a master's in sports nutrition. We went on to hire mentors that showed us how they sat there and built an online coaching business. And Chris and I just put 2 and 2 together around 23, 24 years old. And we built our first online business, which was called Dynamic Duo Training, where we helped thousands and thousands of people all around the world with customized health and nutrition programs. So after that, we did very well with that business, scaled it to multiple 6 figures in years. And from there, we went on to write 2 books, started a podcast, spoke on several stages, and now we're helping health and fitness coaches build and scale their coaching businesses. So that's kind of what got us into this, Daniel.
That is pretty fascinating. It's pretty amazing. What age were you all?
17 when that happened.
17. And now you are the old ages of?
37.
Okay, so 37. Now, so then moving forward, and I have to tell you, I went through an experience with the loss of having male father figure in my life that was very traumatic, very challenging. Not in the same way, but I also know how that then turns into you having a period of trying to find yourself. And really, at times, it can also really help you really uplift and grow into things that you may not have grown into, which seems like it did from you. And then somehow becomes an area that you end up being able to give greater gifts to others. And I think that's how you have then made that really, really devastating scenario into something where then you can be a blessing to other people, which I see that even just in your faces. So now, you bring that into you impacting other people, thousands of people, and how they can reach their audiences. Tell me a little bit about what you have been gifting others in the area of their social media reach.
Yeah, great question. I think too, Daniel, just to kind of like rewind what you said, you asked us before if we'd been to Colorado, and we went to Boulder, and we went there to visit a personal growth mentor. His name's Philip McKernan. And one of the things he told us that I'll never forget is your greatest gift lies next to your deepest wound. Yeah. So your greatest gift lies next to your deepest wound. That was our greatest wound. And it's turned us into a gift to be able to, reach other people. And we have the lens right now to where basically we have nothing to lose, a mindset with nothing to lose. And number two, it's like, we don't know if tomorrow's guaranteed, because we saw our father, pass away, and I'll be damned if I don't sit there and reach my goals and do everything I need to do, because I don't know when my time is. So I have a really big sense of urgency. But with that, it's given us the gift to be able to impact other people, to play at a higher level, right? And to elevate their life, elevate their thinking. And that's what we're doing right now with our coaches is, getting on social media and using their gifts and talents, to be able to sit there and help other people out and have a ripple effect. That's the biggest thing. Right.
I really look forward to talking to you guys more about that, because that's something that I have told people recently, which is that it's a Rumi quote. Maybe you are familiar with this. The wound is where the wound is where the light comes in. Mm-hmm. So, which is a really important thing for people to realize, which is exactly what you said. That person in Boulder that was mentoring you shared, and you have to be able to find that. So, I really hats off to you guys for that, and that's something that's really close to me from my own life experiences.
Yeah, thank you.
So then I'd love to see when people then find these things and find a way for them to be able to serve and be able to serve more. So then, you found yourself growing your own business. Then how did it bring into you that, well, I want to help other people expand their reach so they can have impact?
You want to take that, Eric, or me?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So what it really was, Daniel, is we got burnt out from just doing all the health and fitness coaching to where, we did well with it, but it wasn't for us anymore. So we wanted to, challenge ourselves more. We got really fascinated just by joining different high level masterminds, going to, different conferences, and just learning the art and science of marketing, personal branding, where things were going, and how you can monetize, with your God-given talents and build that online brand. So that's what really what made us pivot and want to go that direction. Just because, again, we were doing the health and fitness coaching for so long to where we wanted a different change.
But also too, Daniel, on that note, like we made probably like $250,000 worth of mistakes, right? Because there wasn't any of these type of resources where it's like, teaching you marketing, teaching you social media, personal brand, sales, client experience, all these things. So we saw that gap to where there's personal trainers, there's nutritionists where their mindset is really cultivated on, let me get that certification. And once I get that certification, like I'm going to have a business and people are just going to come knock on my door. I'm going to throw a website on. I'm going to get thousands of people coming paying for my offer. But we
that doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. What are you talking about?
That's what they tell you on social media. Unfortunately, yeah, it's a good laugh, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And that's where there's a gap with the certification programs, the universities, stuff like that. We wanted to bridge that gap because we made so many mistakes and we've learned so many different skill sets. And how do we take these amazing personal trainers, amazing chiropractors, amazing nutritionists, registered dietitian, naturopaths, and use like their competent skill to solve problems at a bigger scale, but, create an amazing offer, have a social media brand, have, amazing content, have an amazing business going forward to create income, impact, and influence and independence.
Well, I got to tell you, if you've only made $250,000 of mistakes, learned as much as you did, you learn faster than others. Because I watch doctors make much more than that in dollars of mistakes. So if they can learn as fast as you, then they'll be well off. So what are some of the most important lessons that you learned that you find that, yes, fitness pros, but chiropractors, they go in, they get trained. Chiropractic saves lives. It changes lives. It's the answer for health and well-being. I'm just going to hang up a shingle and say I'm a chiropractor and tell them how vital chiropractic is, and everybody and their mother is going to come in. And it doesn't work that way as far as I know. So, they what were some of the things that were vital for your growth that you learned.
Yeah.
That you paid like $250,000 tuition for.
That's right. Yeah, I was going to say though, like the biggest thing for like that I've learned and we've taught, to students is really this like framework, right? If you look at a triangle, the acronym is AMO, right? So the A is your audience, the M is your messaging, and the O is your offer. So even if your listeners can remember that framework of AMO, they're going to be in a really good position being able to start an online brand, right? The A with the audience, it's so important that you're able to identify who your audience is online, because within, in person, it's the same thing with PTs and stuff like that. You're basically chained down to a 3 to 5 mile radius. Same with chiropractors, so it's kind of like you're going to get whoever you can in there. With online though, like you're able to sit there and target exactly who you want. So it could be working specifically with women. It could be specifically men. It could be moms that are post-pregnancy. It could be dads that are looking to get rid of their dad bod, right? That's your audience. You have to have an audience when you go on, have an online brand, because or else you're going to be speaking to millions of people, but you're not going to reach those people. And the M is your messaging. That's basically, like your story. What do you stand for? Your beliefs. What's the target messaging with the avatar niche, their pain points, their wants, their frustrations, their desires, their current aspirations, what keeps them up at night. You have to know all that stuff for sales page copy, website copy, how to relate with them, social media content. And then the last part of the framework is the O, your offer. You got to have an offer online, whether it's you're selling a physical product, it's a service. We can get into all that stuff, but that framework works really good. AMO.
Yeah. I just want to point out that I'm actually taking notes. So that's what I'm doing here, because this is vital for people to know. Before I take more notes and ask you more questions, how do people reach you? Because I know people, as we go deeper in this, they're going to want to reach you. How do you recommend they connect with all of you?
Yeah, that's a great question. You guys could just go connect with us on Instagram at Chris and Eric Martinez. And right there, we have a lot of resources in our link tree, or just go to dynamicfitpros.com and you can find us there and connect with us there.
Okay. We'll definitely put that in the liner notes along with the blog post of the podcast, so that they have that and no one has to cause any spinal subluxations as they're driving and have it there for them. So then, moving forward, what's your content method? You wrote something called a survey content method. I don't know what that is. I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong.
You want to go into that or me, Eric?
Oh, go for it, Chris.
Okay. I'm going to give you guys some good stuff. So to back that up too, Daniel, before I get into the serve content method, there's 3 ways that you can really create traffic, right, to that brand that I just kind of gave you the framework to. So the first way is you can actually create the traffic yourself. That's what I'm going to talk about with like organic content and, content marketing. Okay. So you can create content on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a podcast, email marketing. That's all different ways that you can create the traffic. The second way is you can buy traffic. So that's Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads. You're pushing the traffic onto you, right? And the third way to create traffic is borrow traffic. That's joint ventures, collaborations, host beneficiaries, affiliates, stuff like that. So just understanding those 3 ways to create traffic. Now, if we focus on that very first one I talked about creating traffic, the serve method comes into play. So the S stands for it's strategy. You have to have a strategy with your content, your social media, or else it's like you're going to be just pulling out your hair and getting more gray hairs like I have on my beard, right? You have to have a strategy on what you're doing. And then the I is intentional. The intentional comes in with what I talked about with the audience and the messaging, right? It's got to be intentional. It can't just be like, we're just going to throw something out there and just hope that it sticks. The R stands for relatable, right? So the content has to be relatable, because that's what marketing is. It's just relatability. How do we sit there and get people to know, like, and trust us and relate with us? And then the V is value. The content you put out, it's got to be value. It's got to make them think differently. It's got to break a false belief pattern. It's got to be like, wow, like this was valuable stuff. I can actually go get like a small milestone out of it. And then the first E is basically, it's got to be, somewhat of like entertaining, right? It can't be super boring and super dull. It doesn't have to be like you dancing on TikTok videos if that's not in your nature, but there's got to be a little bit of entertainment in there. And the last E is educational. That ties in with like the value. It's got to be like somewhat educational and getting people to like take action to do something different.
Yeah, and something I just want to point out to that too, just to put context on that. When you're doing this whole survey content like method and framework, the biggest thing too, when it comes to just content creation in general, Chris said that acronym KLT. So know, like, and trust. How do you turn a stranger to a friend to a buyer? How do you do that online? You do that through that survey method that Chris mentioned. And also too, what I see a lot of people making mistakes on when they become content creators and they start, going on Instagram, Facebook, is they make it about them. themselves instead of making it about others. And also they have that the mindset of like, this is social media, when we say, no, this isn't social media. This is actually business media. This is a business platform for yourself. You're no longer the content consumer. You're now the content producer. So there's two very different distinguishes with that, because you are in creation mode. You're the creator. You're sitting there putting out that stuff to where it's like you're building the brand. You're driving traffic to take action on what you're doing, be part of your movement. You're not consuming content and just being like everybody else. And again, it's business media. Like, you can't put too much emotion into it. You can't put too much of the oh gosh, I didn't get a bunch of likes, I didn't get a bunch of views type of like emotion to it. You got to stand firm and be like, okay, I'm a machine. I'm a content machine. It's like, I'm just trying to reach people and serve and help them.
That's so important, is that I teach doctors this. People will get in the place of, I need new patients. I need new patients. Where are the new patients? And when people say that, they're focusing on their need.
Yep.
And I need new patients. I've got to get them in the door. It's a chiropractic anthem that they say. And, if you're saying you need new patients, what do you think happens? You drive them away, right?
Yeah.
As compared to what you were both just saying about helping and serving. When your vibration of what you're putting out in your content is that we're here to help, and I've got great content to serve you that will help you, you'll attract people in.
Exactly.
And you have to get out of what you need, but how the people that, if they don't consume what it is that you're putting out, they're losing out, and they're going to somehow not, what you put out is so good that they need to consume that. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So then how do you grow your story and your brand?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question that we all want, right? Well, I think it's.
I want to find out for less than $250,000.
I know. I get you. If anybody knows the answer, please give that to me. But I think it's just, honestly, Daniel, it's just being a student to the game of it, just being consistent and showing up and just testing different things out. Social media is a huge science experiment. It's like, we really don't know what works and what doesn't. So just testing different things out, like such as like different like creatives as like, videos, reels, swipe posts, going live, doing stories. I mean, this really assessing that data, what posts perform the best within a week span, right? And then gather that data, double down on it, maybe create more of that content. But other than that, it's like, we could come up with all these theories and like how you do this and that, but it's like, we don't control the algorithms. That's an uncontrollable. A controllable is I show up every single day and control my thoughts, attitudes, and actions on how I approach these platforms and how I serve and give and educate to people. So I think it's just playing the long game, buying into that. This is the long game. Like, it's the infinite game, not the finite game, to where it's like, I'm going to continue to build this brand because I know that this is the future and that's where it's going.
Yeah. And I would say too, really quick, Daniel, just to add to that, like how to really grow it though tactically is like, it goes back to that framework of just, do you want to sit there and create traffic? Do you want to borrow it, or do you want to pay for traffic? Right. And for an example, let's just say that like, there's 4 quarters in a year. Maybe that first quarter, you're going to focus all on just creating content yourself, right? You're actually creating that traffic. Second quarter, you're going to maybe move into paid traffic and spend it on Facebook, Instagram ads, build your email list, something like that. Maybe Q3, you start doing more joint ventures and collaborations, right? Maybe you do, podcasts like this. Maybe you do Facebook, Instagram lives with other people and gain their traffic and build your audience that way. Then Q4, it's a toss up. What did you do better in, the create, the borrow, or the actual paid part? And then just do a rotation like that. But it takes time too. That's what people don't understand, is like, you can't just build this in 1 year. I mean, maybe you can if you have $1 million pocket to be able to dump all on advertisement, but it takes time, to really kind of build up like your brand and build the trust and have it be reputable.
Yeah.
So if you have worked frequently with fitness professionals, do you tend to, is it only chiropractors that do this, or is it other professions too, where they want to play the short game and think that it's going to be just do me 2 or 3 steps and then I'm going to all of a sudden get, more clients than I can ever serve? Does that happen in other professions too?
Absolutely. We talk to colleagues everywhere in different expertises and industries, and same thing. Everybody wants a quick fix.
I wanted to make sure it wasn't just chiropractors, because it's a pandemic in chiropractors. They think there's a magic script or a magic funnel that if I just do the steps, can't you just tell me the magic steps that if I do them, then my office will be full and I don't have to work? I have not seen that happen yet. And also, I also know it's not home runs or grand slams that win seasons. It's base hits and really good plays, right? So over and over and over again, all season long. And baseball season is a long season. It's not a short season. A lot of games in a baseball season. You have to play good plays solidly all through to win. It sounds like it's similar in social media.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, 100%.
Exactly. It's like what you just said. You hit the nail right on the head, what you said about just that analogy with baseball. The bunts, the base hits, all that stuff, that's the boring work. People don't want to do that stuff because it's not speed. It's not speed. It's not fun. Right. And there's a lot of time that's attached with that. And also like a cost with that always comes into it. People don't want that. They want convenience and comfort, so it's for them. How do we build the brand with more comfort and then, more convenience? And you can't really get out of that unless you have a massive team or a massive budget to be able to do all this stuff for you. And so if you're starting a brand, man, you gotta put in those sets and reps of the boring work and build those muscles in the foundation. So later when you have the money and disposable income, you can sit there and tell these teams to do X, Y, and Z. They don't sit there and overcharge you, less mistakes. And that's how you grow your brand.
Yeah. I mean, I love when you see a grand slam. It's amazing. But I also know you're not going to win the season on a grand slam, and they're not going to happen every game, right? And there are the stories of those in social media, like, wow, the person did this, and it happened overnight. And, how often does that happen, right?
Yeah, it's rare.
and it's kind of like I rolled the dice in Vegas, and, once, and this happened. That does happen, but it's not frequent. So the odds are not good. So what are some of the building blocks that you push, really tell people this is your foundation?
4 C's are good, Eric. I think you should get into that.
Yeah, I think we have a framework. It's called the 4 C's. Just when you're, going into like building content and building an online brand, and really what this turns into is like we've seen that more conversations lead to conversions, and reason being is like there's so many different forms of chat on these phones and social platforms like Instagram. You have DMs, Facebook. You have Messenger. There's so many ways to communicate. So how do you take this person from that content onto a phone call or even bring them into your office? Possibly by conversations. That's what you would do at coffee shops, local places to try to, get them into your office. So the 4 C's is the first C. It's like create some really good, compelling content, right? Your piece of content, whether it's a video, a post, a story, whatever it is. Then the second C is a connection. So you've a connection is a hand raise. That's when someone likes your post, they comment on it, or they share it, or a story view, they watch it. So that it's like a green light saying, okay, this person, is showing my post some love. They're interested. So then it leads to the next C, which is like you go in there and start that conversation. You initiate the conversation. Hey, thank you for liking my post, sharing my post, whatever it is. Again, like, start asking questions. What's their pain points? Like, what is it that they do? Take a general interest. And that leads to the 4th C, which is a conversion. So turn that conversation into a really good conversation. And then you just move them onto a phone call or Zoom call, or, tell them to come to your office, and that could lead to a conversion.
Wow. That's all really important. I have to tell you, this is the kind of material that chiropractors need and they have no idea about. And the thing is, I and our audience know that in their hands as chiropractors, they have the most powerful healing art on the history of the planet in their hands.
Yeah.
And it's not getting to people, and they don't know the path of how to do that. So they can reach more people and save them from maybe living the number of years that they anticipate to live, but not really at the quality of life and experience that they really can enjoy it, because they're really dying many years earlier. But even though they might be still walking around.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an interesting point too, just for like your listeners as chiropractors or aspiring chiros. I had a conversation with one of my friends back home in Northern California, and he's a chiropractor. He's been a chiropractor for 20 years, and I want to say he's his early 50s. And then he knows like kind of the work that we do. And we've always said, hey, if you ever need help, just let us know. And he has kind of like the old school thinking, but I asked him, I was like, well, hey, Jim, like, what are you going to do, when you're, 55, 60, and your hands no longer can sit there and actually work on people. And he was like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. And I was like, well, what if you were able to have those talents like on video, on membership sites, on subscription models, to where people could pay for your access, because they're buying you, the chiropractor, they're buying you. There's chiropractors everywhere, but people buy people, just like coaches. People buy coaching, not coaching. So I told him, like, why don't you create a brand? Why don't you start doing that and playing that game to where it's like you could start selling, educational stuff and monetize that. And it made him think, but he was still very just like closed-minded to it. So that's my question with chiropractors, is just that why wouldn't you want to start building an online brand now and just setting yourself up for success to monetize online and serve people, with your talents?
Right. Exactly. So what are some steps for people to get started with that? They're sitting there, they've got their chiropractic office, they have one team member, and they have a burning desire to change the world for the better. Right. But they don't know a thing about, what's a chat group and what's a messenger message.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they do to help themselves reach more people?
Yeah, I think there's two things you do. So what you do is you actually start off with, the in-house, right? That's one side of the area you're going to start off with, I think, as a chiropractor, is in-house. Let's say you have about 50 clients there, right? So we all know that, let's just say, for example, I had tendonitis in my arm, and it took about maybe 6 to 8 weeks for me to get that actually healed. But I had to go in there about 2 times, a week to do that. After that, though, there's no more connection with me and the chiropractor. So if there was something after that where there's a continuation program where it was bundled up in a package where I saw them once a month, I can come in for an adjustment. And then the rest of it was maybe remote kind of chiropractic work, or just massage therapy or something like that I could have done. I would have definitely paid for something like that for a continuation program. So I would start in-house, right, with your guys' clients. And if you have 50 people there, how can you not sit there and get maybe 30 or 40 of those people onto some sort of continuation program, right? 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks post-site chiropractic work when they have that initial problem solved. Then the other side of the business, that's where you start building that runway for the online brand and use that ammo thing I talked about. Figure out your audience, your messaging, your offer. And the offer can be a continuation program. It could be a subscription model. There's so many things, ebooks. I mean, there's so many things you could do with that side of the business.
Excellent. With that, most of the chiropractors that I know, they go what I just said about, I need new patients, which is a horrible mantra. It's a horrible mantra to keep saying to the universe. And at the same time, they tend to do that. So how would you want to create that you build an audience that new patients come to you because they want what you have rather than you needing them?
Yeah, and you're talking about locally, right?
Yeah, locally.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't substitute anything for paid advertisement locally, just because that's a 3 to 5 mile radius, maybe 5 to 10 at the most. And that's going to be your best bet, I think. You could always go the guerrilla marketing routes, which we call hustling outside social media, where it's you can sit there and team up with people with different businesses, cross-reference, all that stuff. But I think if you have a chiropractic, brick and mortar, even a boutique, gym studio, you go the routes of just doing actual, paid advertisement, because it's so easy to target people these days with Facebook and Instagram. And then you're able to get people in the door, and it just covers your costs. And then you get your ROI in the back end,
Yeah. And then are you talking Google, Facebook, Instagram, all three?
Yeah. I mean, if you have the budget, man, I would say, yeah, do that trifecta, Google, Facebook, Instagram, but if you can only do one, just start with one and test it out for a little bit on a small budget. See if you get some traction, see if you break even, and then go from there.
Yeah, and not even that too. You should be collecting emails and phone numbers too, because text message, SMS marketing is huge these days. Everyone's on their phone, so why would you not want to have that data? Because Facebook and Instagram, the social platforms, it's rented land. We don't own that stuff. They could change it and just wipe it out. And you're done. But you do own email lists and SMS numbers to sit there and reach out to people and still tell them, hey, here's my offers, or here's my special. Come join this event and all that.
Yeah, here's my online continuation program I just launched, stuff like that.
Right. Super important. Well, any last message that you would say to chiropractors to help them impact more lives and expand their reach? And I know that people go down a route of, there's a time and place for it, but a route of allopathy and not taking care of themselves. The things that you are doing to help people are really vital for people to be well in the first place and need less of those more invasive interventions. And the same thing for chiropractors. So I know your heart is that people go down a path of being healthy in the first place.
Yeah.
In this case with chiropractic, what would be your message for them to expand their reach and just change more lives for the better?
Yeah, I'll go first because I'm younger by 1 minute. So older bro by 1 minute can go after. But I would say, Daniel, just like, I'm a big believer in chiropractic work. Eric and I did bodybuilding shows, believe it or not. He actually placed higher than me. I don't know how the heck that happened. But, I've had a lot of injuries and that saved me, it's chiropractic work. So I'm a big believer in it. So it's like what I tell my PTs, like there's nothing that's going to replace that dynamic of in-person, like PT, or actual like chiropractic work. There's not, but you need to start building a hybrid model going forward, which is in person and have a runway for an online game too, to recession and future-proof your business. So the way to do that is just take imperfect action and put your B+ work out there instead of A+ work. There's too many people out there where they're looking to put A+ work out there and be perfectionists. And we both know, Daniel, there's no such thing as A+ work. Our B+ work is going to serve so many more people and help them out. So just get started right now with your online brand and reach more people because they need you more than you like ever think. And they need you way more than just a 3 to 5 mile radius.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm supposed to top that. I would just say what I said earlier, Daniel, just really consider your future, and just where things are going. I mean, God forbid if like you got injured as a chiropractor and you couldn't use your hands, what would you do? So you have to think about other ways to sit there and utilize your talents and skill sets and monetize. And building an online brand is the way to do it. It's not going anywhere. People are just increasingly just on their phones as we go. So it's not going anywhere. It's like you have to adapt to certain times and innovate just like other people are doing.
And you guys help people build their online brand.
We do.
Okay, excellent. And I know doctors need that. And they can find you at?
Yeah, I would say just Instagram at Chris and Eric Martinez, or head over to dynamicfitpros.com and you could contact us there.
Excellent. Well, I'm really grateful for you helping more people impact more lives. I have this phrase that I tell people, which is you hear it on the airlines. They still say the phrase, we have this number of souls on board, right? And there's people that are souls on the journey that you have of how you're impacting the world. And they come across your field. There's a reason for that, and you have an impact and responsibility to give them your best. And thank you to see you guys doing that in the way that you do.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And thanks for having us on here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being listeners. Make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss any Mile High Tick. And make sure you also hit their website, riseuptomilehigh.com, so you are on higher ground in September and keep changing spines and lives and minds with chiropractic.